Good morning and good afternoon to everyone. Thank you for sharing your time with us today and letting IDC present our vision of the main predictions of the information technology industry for 2017. Over the next 40 to 50 minutes, I'm going to review the 10 main trends in the technology world that will affect the ability of every company to grow and compete in the coming 18 to 36 months and beyond. This presentation draws upon the work done by Frank Jens and the extended Worldwide Predictions team who co-authored IDC FutureScape Worldwide IT Industry 2017 Predictions. The following IDC analysts also made contributions to IDC's predictions for 2017. Diego Anesini, Luciano Cripa, Alejandro Florian, Jorge Gomez, myself, Oscar Guzman, Marcelo Leiva, Roberto Membrilla, Jerónimo Piña, Evelyn Pineda, Juan Pablo Seminara, Waldemar Schuster, Paola Soriano, Diego Valer, Ricardo Viate, and Jose Daniel Zegarra. Thank you very much for their time spent on this. This figure represents IDC's IT industry top 10 predictions in terms of their likely impact across the enterprise and the time it will take for the predictions to reach mainstream. By mainstream, IDC means the broad middle of the bell curve adoption, or we could say when 40 to 60% of enterprises that are neither the first movers and early adopters nor the last to act have taken it upon themselves. Each bubble size provides a rough indicator of the complexity and/or cost an enterprise will incur in acting on the prediction. Our predictions track the biggest story of our time, the continuing emergence and evolution of the third platform and digital transformation, which we commonly call DX, marketplace. In 2017 to 2020, we will see the emergence of digital transformation at a macroeconomic scale, the dawn, if you will, of the DX economy. In this new economy, enterprises will be measured by their ability to hit and exceed a whole new set of demanding performance benchmarks enabled by cloud, mobility, cognitive and artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, augmented reality and virtual reality, and the digital transformations fueled by these technologies. The 2017 IDC FutureScape for the worldwide IDC industry identifies 10 strategic IT industry shifts executives need to understand and act on in order to compete and win in the looming DX economy. ICT spending in Latin America is also transforming. The transformation is closely tied to the maturity and scale that third platform and DX are reaching. Historically, IDC has been tracking the correlation between economic growth and IT spending at a macroeconomic level. This is especially pronounced when analyzing the market at current dollars, which excludes the currency fluctuation effects, which means that every year, IT spending in dollars of that year grows at similar rates to that of the economy. In fact, over the next 3 years, between 2016 and 2019, investment in technology related to the third platform pillars and innovation accelerators will grow at more than 5 times the rate of overall ICT spending. Total ICT spending in Latin America will reach $274 billion in 2017, nearly 4% more than in 2016 at constant dollar rates. In previous recovery cycles, IDC has uncovered that those companies that invest during the economic downturn are the same companies that show greater results and higher profitability after the rebound. In this recession, this is particularly relevant as the nature of the rebound is more closely tied with business model transformation. It's been a quick 12 months since last year's predictions, so it's not surprising that several core topics in this story remain the same, including 3 critical ones. Digital transformation as a strategic business imperative. 2, third platform technologies as the foundation for DX strategy execution. And 3, industry and developer communities as essential ecosystems for scaling up their DX success. So what's new in this year's outlook? There's 4 macro trends that stand out. Digital transformation is going to attain macroeconomic scale and impact. We're currently at an inflection point in Latin America. Over the next 3 to 4 years, DX efforts will no longer be projects or initiatives or special business units for most enterprises. In effect, every growing enterprise, no matter its age or industry, will become a digital native in the way its executives and employees think and how they operate. The global economy will be reshaped in the process. Second point is the economic transformation in emerging markets. After a decade and a half of an economic boom tied to surging commodity prices and accelerating global consumption, Latin America plunged into a recession in 2015. Countries that have not prepared for a new global order are struggling to find faster ways of recovering. Only structural transformation that allows new business models to emerge and innovation to become culture will enable a long-term recovery. Digital transformation becomes, therefore, an economic imperative for emerging nations and not a nice-to-have. The third platform's 4 pillars, being cloud, mobile, social, and big data, are going to shift in a new 2.0 evolutionary stage to support the scaled-up DX economy. Many in the industry think that they have a grip on what these technologies are and what they're capable of, but they will dramatically morph, requiring all enterprises and IT suppliers to reassess their plans to use the core technologies. Also, adoption of the third platform's innovation accelerators will occur much faster than most expect, with dramatic effect. A clear pattern is emerging. The adoption of innovation accelerators, especially cognitive and AI, Internet of Things, and AR/VR, will happen much faster than the third platform's 4 pillars. Enterprises that embrace these accelerators earlier will grab big competitive advantages. The fourth platform is edging over the horizon. We can finally see the clear outlines of what lies beyond the near to midterm third platform DX world. Enterprise leaders, most especially in consumer-facing industries, need to pay close attention. Beyond these shifts, you'll notice 3 core themes running through our predictions. 1, things are moving faster than previously predicted. You'll notice this in DX adoption, third platform technology adoption, expansion of the DX developer community, adoption of AR/VR technologies, developer use of cognitive and AI technologies, and DX-driven enterprise performance improvements. Speed is a core skill for success in the DX economy. 2, consumer scale is becoming mandatory for every enterprise. Whether your enterprise touches consumers directly or indirectly through consumer-facing partners, competing will become more and more difficult without connecting your value to consumers, their homes, and their lifestyle, even for traditional B2B enterprises. And 3, ecosystems are as important as your core IP. Maximizing leverage in all aspects of your enterprise through partner communities, developers, partners, competitors, and customers aggregating around industry collaborative platforms and the emerging DX channel community will determine much of your success in the DX economy. We start with predictions 1 and 2 that look at the big picture for IT industry change over the next several years at the business level, or DX, and the technology level, which is third platform technologies. Prediction 1 is the dawn of the DX economy. By 2020, 40% of Latin America's top 3,000 companies will see the majority of their business depend on their ability to create digitally enhanced products, services, and experiences. For the past few years, more and more organizations have embarked on digital transformation journeys using the cloud, analytics, social technologies, and more to create competitive advantage through new offerings, business models, and relationships. But for most enterprises, digital transformation has been at the level of projects or initiatives, or perhaps as big as special business units. Over the next 3 years, we'll see DX shift to an entirely different scale, the macroeconomic scale, as many global businesses generate more than half of their business from digitally transformed offerings, operations, and supplier, distribution, and customer networks. In Latin America, there are few digitally born enterprises, but there are already many more examples of digital thrivers, companies that have embraced company-wide digital transformation and are becoming digital leaders. World-class players in many industries, such as Mexico's Cemex in manufacturing, Banco de Brasil in banking, and Chilean Codelco in mining, have taken up digitization and are already being seen as benchmarks to emulate. Even public organizations like the Mexican CFE and Colombian EPM in energy management are examples that this is not just a private sector phenomena. In effect, every growing enterprise will become a digital native, and the global economy will be reshaped in the process. However, a majority of Latin American companies are only beginning their digital journey. Today, 82% are in the exploration stages of their digital journey and have yet to move from isolated initiatives to vision-led, company-wide digitization, according to an ongoing survey among Latin American CIOs and lines of business managers. In fact, the digital divide between digital thrivers and the rest is particularly wide among SMBs and only widening as leaders accelerate their pace of growth faster than the rest. As DX becomes more material and increasingly core to enterprises over the next 4 years, we'll see these additional impacts. By the end of 2018, revenue growth from information-based products will be growing at over 50% for 1/3 of the top 3,000 companies in the region. For industry leaders, DX is where the fastest growth is already coming from, 5 times faster than the average. By 2020, 1/5 of CEOs and COOs of the top 3,000 companies will have spent at least 5 years in a tech leadership role. Enterprise leaders are evolving into a deeply bilingual community, comfortable in both business and IT discussions. And this evolution is not just about language. It is about a way of thinking about and behaving. In 2020, spending on DX initiatives in Latin America, as defined by IDC's DX spending guide, will reach around $22 billion, more than twice as large as in 2016. In terms of some specific guidance, companies and executives should be developing plans to transition digital transformation efforts and organizations from isolated incubators or special business units to being integrated within the operations and culture of the entire enterprise. Digital products and service plans should be considered and developed for every part of your organization. Carefully assess the leaders at all levels within your organization. Do they not just speak, but also think in an integrated fashion about technology and business? Look for IT suppliers that orient offerings and go to market around the largest and fastest growing DX use cases. This brings us to prediction 2, which shows us the third platform is becoming the default. By 2020, third platform technologies and services will drive nearly 40% of IT spending, growing at over 5 times the rate of the total IT market. Third platform technologies of cloud, mobile, social, and big data have been joined in recent years by IoT, cognitive AI, AR/VR, 3D printing, robotics, and next-generation security technologies, and are clearly no longer emerging technologies. They are now the default choices for virtually all enterprises' competitive advantage systems. This is by far the least surprising prediction of the top 10. This transition to third platform technologies has been underway for a decade. In Latin America, as of 2016, more than 3 of every 5 organizations already know of and use cloud computing, social technologies, and enterprise mobility to some extent. The next wave of third platform adoption will come from big data and analytics and Internet of Things, both known but still not used by over half of all organizations in the region. The third platform's 4 pillars will evolve dramatically as their growing capabilities enable and the expanding needs of the DX economy require more of the following. Within mobility, IoT, 4G, 5G, and wireless power will deliver mobile everything, always connected and always on. Use cases will grow significantly. By 2020, 63% of all ICT spending in Latin America will be related to mobility, including devices and telecommunication services. The focus and adoption will shift quickly from big data to cognitive and AI. Big data and cognitive spending will almost double between 2016 and 2020 in Latin America. Social will become increasingly immersive through virtual reality. AR/VR spending will grow at an impressive 93% CAGR between 2017 and 2020 in Latin America. Cloud will evolve in at least 6 different dimensions, which we'll describe in Prediction 3. Public cloud will continue to grow in Latin America. Between 2016 and 2020, these services will grow at a factor of 2.5. Master third platform technologies is essential guidance, as this remains a top business priority. Expertise in these technologies must be a key requirement when hiring and retraining IT and business staff. Relentlessly assess technology and business partners. How strong is their expertise in third platform technologies and solutions? Also need to reassess the possible. Virtually every third platform technology is expanding its capabilities and use cases dramatically over the next 3 years. It's important to regularly reset your assumptions about what your organization can and cannot do with these technologies and in what time frame. Predictions 3 through 5 look at these 3 key technology areas that will drive lots of market change and strategic investments over the next several years: cloud, cognitive AI, and immersive interfaces. For Prediction 3, we're now getting ready for Cloud 2.0. By 2020, 55% of all enterprise IT infrastructure and software spending will be for cloud-based offerings. The cloud will morph to become distributed, trusted, intelligent, industry-focused, and channel-mediated. Enterprises in Latin America have been shifting to a cloud-first strategy over the past several years, selecting a cloud platform for all new workload deployments and a virtualized, self-provisioned, and elastic architecture for all IT infrastructure. Although a cloud-only strategy is still far in the horizon, the concept of cloud is now the paradigm to aspire to, and every IT department is now considering this, even though most enterprise legacy and mission-critical applications still reside in traditional IT stacks. Fueling this shift is the fact that almost every global enterprise will be a cloud service provider of innovative services to its own marketplace, making cloud capability not just an IT issue, but also a core business operations issue. Latin American enterprises are still catching up to the concept of industry clouds, as less than 2% of companies with more than 100 employees surveyed confirmed to be adopting any sort of industry-specific application. For example, for healthcare, manufacturing, resources, retail, etc., as a software as a service during 2016. Certainly, top cloud vendors are interested in developing industry clouds, but the ecosystem required includes not only cloud vendors, but also recognized industry companies, startups, and channels, and is still incipient in the region. We have yet to see more investment in training, programs, and partner effectiveness efforts that allow channels to bet on the as-a-service model. Having said this, investments in public and private cloud in Latin America is outpacing all other IT spending by a factor of 5x. Cloud adoption in Latin America will continue outpacing global adoption, with public cloud growing 25% for Latin America versus 20% globally in 2015 to 2020. Cloud 2.0 in Latin America in the next 12 to 24 months will be more closely tied to innovative solutions such as IoT, cognitive systems, and next-generation security, where public and private cloud platforms will become the basis for IT infrastructure. As cloud adoption expands in the next 4 years, what clouds are and what they can do evolve dramatically in at least 6 important ways. Cloud services will become much more distributed and interconnected. IDC predicts that over 50% of enterprise IT in Latin America will be off-premise by 2018, driven in large part by the shift to public cloud services. Globally, more than 85% of enterprise IT organizations will commit to multi-cloud architectures by 2018, driving up the rate and pace of change in IT organizations. A key element enabling multi-cloud environments will be the rise of containers. By 2019, at least 1/3 of all public cloud infrastructure as a service capacity will be deployed as containers. By 2019, at least 40% of IoT-created data will be stored, processed, analyzed, and acted upon close to or at the edge of the network. Cloud services will become more trusted. By 2020, cloud will be where secure and trusted IT services live. Cloud-based encryption, threat analytics, user and entity behavior analytics, blockchain, and compliance services will proliferate. Enterprises not leveraging the cloud for security service will be viewed as unsecured. Blockchain adoption will accelerate in the world. By 2019, at least 25% of global banks will have implemented blockchain in production systems. Latin American banks have already started this journey as well. By 2021, an IoT trust-based protocol enabled by blockchain will emerge. Given recent IoT-based DDoS attacks, there will be tremendous incentives for suppliers to accelerate this development. The cloud will also become more intelligent, more industry specialized, and more channel mediated. Cloud leadership will become much more concentrated. By 2020, the top 5 global cloud IaaS and PaaS players will control at least 75% share versus only about 50% in 2016. Structured data management software as a service and basic storage will lead cloud spending growth in Latin America, as top vendors for both technologies will keep positioning their PaaS and ES offerings stronger among medium and small companies. In terms of guidance, companies need to become heavily cloud-centric in technology adoption and in skills over the next several years, or they're going to find themselves stranded on the outskirts of digital transformation within their own industry. For those enterprises already familiar with the cloud, get ready for significant changes in what clouds are able to provide in support of the DX economy. The assumptions about and use cases for the cloud, as it becomes more distributed, trusted, intelligent, and industry specialized, will greatly expand. As the cloud mega platform of IaaS and PaaS community begins to consolidate, be sure to carefully assess providers and align with the winners. Prediction 4, we're looking at artificial intelligence everywhere. By 2020, 10% of all digital transformation initiatives and 60% of all effective IoT efforts will be supported by cognitive and AI capabilities. The startlingly fast proliferation of cloud-based cognitive AI capabilities across the globe from IBM, Amazon Web Services, Microsoft, Google, and others is putting tremendous power in the hands of DX developers in startups and global 2000 giants alike. The power of AI is being put to a wide variety of uses, including medical diagnostics and treatment, predictive analytics for industrial equipment, customer advice, assist capabilities in retail, fraud detection and prevention in financial services, and cybersecurity threats and analytics. IoT and cognitive analytics technologies will especially be closely coupled to each other, as our prediction suggests. This is because IoT devices and the flood of data that comes from them have very limited data without analytics technologies, which are uniquely capable of finding valuable insights from IoT data. Cognitive AI solution spending in Latin America is still nascent. As per IDC's research from the Worldwide Semi-Annual Cognitive Systems Spending Guide, spending in cognitive systems will reach a value of only $359 million in Latin America by 2020, which is equal to 1% of the global cognitive systems market size. Interpreting cognitive and AI solution spending is difficult, since more and more it will become an embedded feature in many applications, as well as in IoT sensor networks. In Latin America, there's an extra incentive to embed analytic capabilities in IoT endpoints to reduce the amount of traffic on a network due to latency and reliability challenges. Developer adoption is accelerating. By 2025, 75% of developer teams will include cognitive or AI functionality in one or more applications as they become more accessible through platform as a service offerings to startups and developer teams. Consumers will be essential to cognitive AI adoption. By 2019, over 110 million consumers' devices with embedded intelligent assistants will be installed in U.S. households. Given the pace of Amazon.com's Echo and Dot sales, and with Google Home now about to ship, this could be a gross understatement. Unless the language barrier is overcome, the Latin American market will lag behind. As of today, only Cortana Assistant in Windows 10 and Siri are capable of handling Spanish or Portuguese on the consumer side. Industry focus is the key to cognitive and AI growth. In 2017 to 2020, 9 of the top 10 cognitive AI use cases will be industry focused and account for 85% of investments. The battle of AI platforms will play out in 2017 to 2020. The concentration of market share is going to be driven in large part by which of the competing cloud mega platform players can win the battle for developers in the cognitive AI space. In terms of guidance, within the next 12 months, if you haven't already, ask, how can we use AI capabilities and the data required to feed AI systems to take our offerings, customer engagement, operational efficiency, and executive and field force decisions making to the next level? With 40% of DX projects leveraging cognitive AI capabilities, it's obvious that many in your industry will be asking the same question. Look at your technology providers to see how cognitive analytics capabilities are being included in their product roadmaps and how you can make use of these capabilities. Learn about the various cognitive AI software platforms available and start testing some new applications on them. A number of these platforms are free for development use. IT organizations need to build in-house expertise in these areas, along with data science and big data analytics. Be on the alert for rising privacy, ethical, and other non-technical issues as cognitive AI solutions become embedded in a wider variety of services and solutions. Your competitive advantages from these technologies could be hamstrung by social backlash and legal hurdles. This brings us to prediction 5, which touches upon immersive interfaces gaining traction. In 2017, 1 out of 10 consumer-facing Latin America top companies will experiment with AR or VR as part of their marketing efforts. Interfaces are the essential gateway to customer engagement, and they are evolving more quickly than many have anticipated. Over the next 3 to 4 years, through augmented and virtual reality, and advances in integrating all senses with the digital world, most notably being voice, we will see more of the digital world enter the real world, people immersed into the digital world, and greatly intensified individual engagement in the DX economy. In Latin America, this evolution is starting. Many companies have already started to experiment with AR and VR. Having said this, only 1 out of 10 top consumer-facing companies will have concrete experiments with the technology in the short term. Despite the slow start, this number is expected to increase rapidly, jumping to 4 out of 10 by 2020. With the technological barrier diminished, the Latin American region should rapidly catch up with the latest advancements in the consumer and corporate-centric AR/VR applications. By 2020, the coolest mobile and web experiences of today will seem very flat and hopelessly boring. At the end of 2018, the monthly active user base of consumers using mobile augmented reality apps should exceed 30 million in Latin America. The Pokemon Go phenomenon of 2016 demonstrated very vividly that flash adoption of new technologies can come from apparently nowhere when the right combination of emerging technology, engaging content, and a widely available platform, in this case it was the mobile phone, come together. In our view, this will happen again, over and over, with immersive interface technologies. Get ready for immersive social. Virtual reality will offer a new immersive dimension to social networks. By 2020, at least 20% of professional or commercial media on Facebook will be Facebook 360, which is the 360-degree video and photo options if you're not familiar with that. That type of content will be driving a disproportionately large number of views and shares. Google will leverage YouTube's growing VR content as a cornerstone for its effort to expand its consumer engagement and reboot its social media presence. By 2020, virtually all smartphones will have embedded intelligent assistants, which is expected to take a bigger role in people's lives. More and more, the voice-enabled assistants become more user-friendly and are expected to improve the way people interact with the digital world as well as with other connected devices. Putting AR and VR together by 2021, we predict over 60 million people in Latin America will regularly access apps, content, and data through an AR/VR platform. Consumer-facing industries must have immersive interface explorations and initiatives underway in 2017. There will be a lot of stops and starts, successes, and missteps over the next 36 months, but leaders will be rewarded with dramatically increased customer engagement, measured in number of views, length of views, multiple views, and shares. IT departments need to work closely with CMOs and lines of businesses to coordinate efforts, particularly around application development and possibly even hardware should deployments be required. Developers with experience and skills in technologies like Unity Engine will also be relevant. Companies need to watch for competing standards in the VR space, especially given how young the industry is today. Smartphone-based platforms like Google Daydream may give the widest reach, whereas PC-based systems from HTC and Oculus, Facebook, give the most immersive experience. Predictions 6 through 8 look at critical ecosystems that will shape both enterprises and IT suppliers' success in the rising DX economy. These are industry collaborative platforms, DX developers, and the emerging DX channel. So in prediction 6, we see industry collaborative platforms arising. By 2019, the number of industry collaborative clouds in Latin America will double to more than 50 across many industries. Most of these will come from partnerships between top cloud vendors or public and private industry collaboration efforts. For several years, IDC has pointed to the emergence of cloud services platforms and marketplaces that provide services aimed at specific industries such as financial services, healthcare, manufacturing, and government. We have coined the term industry collaborative platforms for a strategic subset of these platforms that we believe will be the most important. Cloud-based platforms through which multiple companies in an industry collaborate in some fashion toward a common goal, such as improving industry insight and/or capability. As the previous prediction showed, IDC believes we are about to see these innovation crossroads in virtually every industry take off over the next several years. Indeed, new technology and industry partnerships around industry collaborative clouds, or ICCs, are becoming more recent events. The recent ABB-Microsoft partnership is a good example. Industry collaborative clouds focused on aggregating information are the fastest growing in both quantity and size, accounting for more than 40% of all industry collaborative clouds created in the past globally. Compliance as a service will become the no-brainer ICC offering. By 2020, almost 60% of enterprises in the developed world will actively participate in compliance clouds. IoT and cognitive AI will drive further adoption. More enterprises will be digital suppliers through ICCs. By 2020, 30% of the top 3,000 companies in Latin America will be suppliers of digital services through industry collaborative clouds. By 2020, at least 90% of industry collaborative clouds will partner with a cloud mega platform provider like Amazon, Google, IBM, and Microsoft. SMBs will access industry clouds for the technology platform and basic applications, as the economies of scale available via an industry cloud based on a reference architecture will help SMBs drive improved IT operational performance both near and long term. In terms of guidance, in 2017, all enterprises should become familiar with the ICCs serving their industry and formulate plans for building ICCs into their supplier networks. Using ICCs will increasingly be considered a must for high-cost, complex, and non-differentiating industry processes and services, including compliance. In 2017, enterprises should consider the strategic value of creating or being a founding partner of an industry collaborative platform. There are already dozens of leading companies across every industry that are positioning themselves as suppliers to the rest of their industry, a potentially very powerful position. With the ramp up in ICCs we foresee in the next several years, now is the time to decide your own enterprise's ICC role as a consumer or a supplier or both. For those creating an ICC, when selecting technology partners, it's important that companies select vendors that have, 1, deep industry-specific expertise with a strong book of references, 2, proven understanding of industry-specific regulations and compliance initiatives, and 3, a referenceable portfolio of previously built industry clouds. Enterprises should look for help from partners regarding the strategic design, creation, and ongoing maintenance of industry clouds. Service providers that were involved early in the development of new industry clouds will be best positioned to partner with you on these initiatives. For Prediction 7, we're seeing the DX developer teams expanding faster. Early this year, we conducted a survey with the medium and large enterprise companies in Latin America, looking at how many had formed a dedicated team or even business unit focused on digital transformation and innovation. We found that close to 40% had already done so. We expect this focus on digital transformation, spearheaded by DX teams and organizations, to rapidly expand in the next 36 months. By the end of 2019, we anticipate that over 60% of the top 3,000 companies in Latin America will have dedicated digital transformation and innovation teams. DX developer teams are growing faster. As we noted in last year's IDC FutureScape for the IT industry, enterprises' capacity to innovate for the rising DX economy is gated by the size and skill of these DX developer teams. By 2019, enterprises pursuing DX strategies will expand their developer teams by 2 to 3 times. DX developers' innovations are going to dwarf the traditional software industry. By 2019, more than 20% of the value of software in Latin America will be monetized through things and consumers and business services, most of that emanating from developers outside the traditional software IT industry. The pace of software-based innovation will speed up. By 2019, enterprises that embrace DevOps processes and enabling technology will increase the number of annual application code releases, often moving from quarterly or semi-annual releases to monthly or even weekly or daily deployments. Open source communities are key. By 2020, DX teams will source over 80% of their solution components from open source communities. In terms of guidance, make hiring talented DX developers a top business priority immediately. But as mentioned last year, it will be equally important for enterprises to phase out as much non-differentiating software development as possible by embracing more standardized SaaS offerings and by externally sourcing developer services. Within 12 to 36 months, evaluate current and planned use of DevOps open source technologies and consider how to best support these environments at scale. Evaluate the cost, security, and reliability of running internally supported community open source code, commercially supported vendor open source solutions, or hosted or public cloud SaaS and PaaS offerings that leverage open source. This brings us to Prediction 8, which looks at the DX channel. By 2020, over 50% of cloud service providers' cloud revenue will be mediated by channel partners and brokers. With the rise of the cloud, many declared the death of the IT channel community. IaaS eliminated a lot of the need for partners to help enterprises install servers, and SaaS reduced the need for partners to install and customize packaged software. But as seen previously, we predict the opposite. As enterprises' use of the cloud becomes more complex, more SaaS providers more integration required across clouds, a flood of data that needs management across clouds, a wider range of use cases, including many industry specialized offerings. Major cloud service providers are discovering what their predecessors learned. They need lots of help reaching, selling, and supporting the widening variety of cloud users and uses. The biggest challenge has been that traditional channel players that have been slow to develop cloud skills and to adopt cloud-oriented business practices, such as a subscription model. And while new generation channel players have risen, they are relatively small, and there have been too few to match the market need. In Latin America, the skills gap is not only prevalent in key technology areas like cloud services, infrastructure deployment, or next-generation data center management and orchestration. It is also tangible in application areas such as agile innovation, IoT DevOps, and machine learning. The attention to this is increasing, but it will take time to turn the direction around from this widening gap. Over the next 3 years, this will all change as the DX channel finally emerges to bridge the implementation and value gap between major IT suppliers and enterprises. By 2020, major IT distributors will have transitioned at least 1/3 of their business from hardware sales to cloud services sales and brokering. By 2019, most cloud service providers outside of the top 10 will offer brokered access to their leading competitors' cloud services. The DX channel will also be industry specialized. By 2020, the cloud broker and SI landscapes, SI being system integrator landscape, serving medium and enterprise companies will become highly verticalized, offering cloud-based businesses services. In terms of guidance, assess your current ensemble of channel services providers, consultants, system integrators, resellers, VARs, ISVs, brokers, managed service providers, etc. Are they among the traditional players that will successfully transition to the third platform and DX world? There'll be a large number of new service providers emerging, ones that are cloud-centric, analytics skilled, customer engagement focused, and increasingly experts in your industry. Understand who the rising stars are in this community. Your success will be accelerated with the right partner choices. Putting the prior big picture predictions, technology predictions, and ecosystem predictions together, Prediction 9 looks at what enterprises will need to look like to compete in the DX economy. By 2020, all enterprises' performance will be measured by a demanding new set of DX-driven benchmarks requiring between 20 and 100% better business performance. Competing and thriving in the DX economy will demand improvements in performance in all aspects of the enterprise, including leadership, revenue growth, customer engagement, operational efficiency, and workforce agility. These performance levels inspired by digital native organizations will be the new normal for all organizations. Organizations that haven't transformed through leveraging third platform technologies will be unable to compete. This means that every enterprise, in effect, must think and operate like a digital native organization. Not surprisingly, we expect at least 1/3 of every industry's top 20 companies will fail to reach these new benchmark levels. On the chart, we can see some of the global metrics, while in Latin America, we do see some differences in certain categories. In terms of leadership, 20% of Latin America's top 3,000 company CEOs will have technology leadership experience. In terms of growth, 50% of revenue growth from information-based or digital products. In terms of customer engagement, the Net Promoter Score will improve 30% as customers own their own experience. And in terms of operational efficiency, through leveraging IoT and cognitive AI, 20% of operational processes will be self-healing. And in the space of workforce agility, enterprises with advanced DX maturity will see 50% reductions in management layers. In terms of guidance, and mentioned previously, digital transformation efforts over the next several years need to move beyond initiatives into the core of what enterprises offer, how they operate, and how employees and executives think. All enterprises will need to become digital natives regardless of their longevity and market position. By 2020, 1/3 of health, life sciences, and consumer product companies will begin to develop the first products and services tightly integrating third platform technologies with the human body. Augmented humanity offerings will be mainstream by the mid-2020s. This is what we're calling the fourth platform, which is now on the horizon. As the IT industry has progressed from the first platform to the second and third platform, technology has steadily come into closer and closer proximity to many more people, become cheaper and easier to use. The broad mission for fourth platform solutions will be augmented humanity, fusing information technology and biological systems to provide humans with a wide variety of enhancements, including augmented sensing, which could be improvement, restoration of vision, hearing, and other senses, augmented memory and cognition, restoration of cognitive or memory function, augmented biostructure, tissue, organ, and skeletal repair replacement, augmented mobility, which is next generation prosthesis, and augmented immunity, repairing and immunizing biosystems from disease. It's important to note that unlike prior platform transition, the fourth platform will not obsolete the third platform. It will be built on third platform technologies like cloud, cognitive AI, IoT, 3D printing, and more. Latin America needs to prepare itself for this coming revolution to not be left behind. All enterprises should reflect on the past 17 years, asking, what would we have done differently in the third platform if we'd been paying attention in 1995 to 2005 and anticipated the huge disruptions and opportunities on the horizon? Putting all these trends together leads to the most important takeaways in this year's IDC FutureScape. As the DX economy expands, enterprises will be required to measure up to a whole new set of demanding performance benchmarks in leadership, innovation, customer engagement, operating efficiency, and agility, enabled by cloud, mobility, cognitive AI, IoT, AR, VR, and the digital transformations fueled by these technologies. Over the next several years, enterprises now consider themselves digital immigrants with DX efforts that are projects, initiatives, or new business units must transform themselves into digital natives with 50% or more of their business and much more of their growth driven by digitally enhanced offerings. You may remember that last year we predicted that by 2020, enterprises pursuing DX initiatives would dramatically scale up their supply chains by 100 to 1,000-fold and their customer engagements by 1,000 to 10,000-fold. Building an innovation graph built around digital service APIs is how they're doing that. We'd now like to invite you to participate in more than 40 different FutureScape Global Prediction Seminars for 2017. Here you can see a list of them covering all different industries and areas that we believe you should be interested in and that your companies are likely interested in. You can just sign up for all of those on our idc.com page.
Thank you, Jay, for your presentation and insight. Before we begin our question and answer section of our broadcast, I wanted to remind everyone that you will be receiving an audio replay link of today's webinar, as well as a complimentary document with our 2017 predictions. We do have this replay link and this document available in both English and Spanish. So if you would like to have the other one that you don't have, that you will not be receiving, please let us know, or you can check our website for that information as well. So now we will start the question and answer section of our broadcast. As a reminder, you may type your question into the Q&A box. And in order to provide the utmost value in our answers of your questions, we are now also joined by some of our senior regional analysts. I will turn it back over to Jay.
Thanks, Arina. So the first question we have here is, what would be the expansion needs in terms of bandwidth growth in the telco infrastructure to support business needs with the DX and the coverage? For that, we'll pass it to Diego Anasini.
Thank you, Jay, and thanks for the question. That's a really interesting one. Actually, if you see some of the stats that IDC produces or other institutions like the World Economic Forum, Latin America is not necessarily in the top of communications infrastructure around the world. So for sure there are some important needs in terms of bandwidth to support the third platform needs and also the digital transformation needs. So there's a lot of room to grow in terms of bandwidth. We don't have exact figures in terms of exact bandwidth, but we are sure that there are important needs not only in the larger cities, but mostly in the remote city or smaller cities around Latin America, where the many of the economic activities happen. So there are important needs in terms of bandwidth, and that will continue to grow. Fiber for large cities and mostly mobile networks will be installed for to cover the remote cities where 4G and 5G continue to develop and grow in the region.
Thanks, Diego. The next question is related to artificial intelligence. So it says, do you see any exporter of artificial intelligence capability or technology from any Latin American country? Which type of solution? Or will Latin America only be a consumer of AI technology in the coming years? For that, I'll pass it to Ricardo Villate, our Group Vice President.
Thanks, Jay. So when it comes to AI, the adoption of this technology is just in its very early stages, and not just in Latin America, but also in other regions of the world, as we've seen. One of the very first key implementations of these that are available commercially comes to things like natural language interfaces. So, for example, the type of interfaces that uses that Amazon Alexa or Siri use, and text-to-speech interfaces and translation interfaces that are automatic. Because all these three have to do with the language, we haven't really seen early implementations or early adoption as fast as in other regions in our region in Latin America. Solutions available in Spanish and Portuguese are only just starting to appear, and only in its very initial stages. So in IDC, we haven't seen the first steps of preliminary adoption in the curve, and so it would be very premature to say that there's already teams or developers or companies building value on top of these artificial intelligence use cases. One area where we would expect to see some advanced usage would be on image recognition in many areas, and not just in the life sciences industry, but also in areas like agribusiness in some countries where already local companies are using extensive image recognition technology to look at crop yields and things of the sort. So that would be an area to keep an eye on. But to respond to the question, as we have looked at the market so far, there is no Latin America exporter of technology yet.
Okay, the next question is for Alejandro Florian, and it's related to the industry collaborative clouds that I was talking about earlier. And the question is, do you classify SAP's Ariba as a cross ICC? So Alejandro?
Thank you, Jay. Thank you for the question. Yes, we consider SAP Ariba as a part of the industry cloud business model. In fact, we are working in a new tracker, the industry cloud tracker, and we consider Ariba as a part of this tracker.
Okay, thank you very much, Alejandro. The next one, this will be for Luciano Cripa. The question is, what is the future of more traditional mobile devices like laptops and tablets, two markets that are shrinking in Latin America? Luciano?
Hi, Jay. Thanks for the question. Yes, absolutely, the statement is correct. Those two markets, they are declining on a year-over-year basis, and for the longer term, we do expect them to continue to decline. But there is an important transformation going on this segment as well. So even the more traditional devices, they've been morphing into new devices in order to adapt to the users of today's environment. So in case of the traditional devices such as tablets and desktops specifically, we've been seeing vendors launching new products in the market, such as the detachable devices, the convertible devices, which not only bring a new device to the market, but also a device that has a higher average selling price. So even though the market is declining in terms of units, there is still plenty of opportunity for the migration for more traditional devices to newer devices, and with that, an opportunity also to increase revenue when taking out a cheaper device and launching a newer device with a higher ASP. So just to give you a data point, which is very relevant, I think, over the last 4 years. So if we compare the end of December 2012 with now 2016, there are less vendors in the market for the traditional devices such as PCs. So we previously had 47 vendors in the market in 2012. We now have 32 vendors in the market for 2016, and we are already seeing that number lowering even more for the upcoming year. So we are expecting 7 less vendors in this market. So yes, the market is consolidating. There is a lot going on, but there is still opportunity for a market that we continue to expect to ship more than 5 million, for example, devices every quarter. So there is still a lot of devices being shipped in the region.
Thanks, Luciano. And since you were talking about consolidation, it's kind of related to the next question. Someone wrote, how is the distributor ecosystem changing in Miami due to the industry transformation that you have mentioned in the presentation today? So I think I'll take that question. So similar to how Luciano was talking about consolidation in the hardware market, here in Miami, the distributor ecosystem traditionally relied on hardware more than anything else. But now that we're seeing as things are going to software and services, we're seeing that those players that are traditionally only focused on hardware they've needed to become bigger and more agile at the same time. So we've seen many of the smaller guys either get absorbed or go out of business. But we're also seeing many of the larger players also become more broad in their offering, some of them even offering their own cloud, white label cloud solutions to some of their channel partners. And we're also seeing a greater specialization where we have some that are focusing specifically more on, networking and system integration as opposed to the general broad hardware distribution that we saw in the past. I think we'll have time for one more question. Let's see. Okay, the question is, what would be IDC's recommendation for customers to ensure the journey to digital transformation? With that, I'll pass it back to Ricardo Villate.
Right, thanks. So on our prediction 9, we talked about adopting several new standards of metrics, of performance metrics for companies. This is really a reflection of how we think companies must align an integral vision for digital transformation and incorporate that into all of their different functions, business processes, and of course, how you measure them in terms of leadership, omni experience, digital information transformation, operating model transformation, or workforce transformation. We really believe that in the coming future, those companies that are engaged in massive scale, continuous innovation are the ones that are going to succeed. In order to do that, in our last slide, we did talk about building this innovation graph. Yes, that one. So what that really means is that innovation has to become much more agile and incorporate a broad and very large group of constituencies or audiences that all feed information into the innovation cycle of a company, and they span from internal functions all the way to partners, developers, data providers, customers. It's really like a social network of different actors integrated into one single supply chain all the way to a value chain model. So that looking at that type of approach to innovation is one of the things that companies have to take into account when beginning their journey. Also, last year, you may remember that we had predicted that scale of digital transformation would be one of the key factors. We are talking about scaling up supply chains from a factor of 100 to a factor of 1,000 times the members of a supply chain as companies that begin their digital journey and explode in this global economy can grow very, very quickly. So building that capability is certainly something to consider. And of course, building the capability to multiply the customer engagements by a factor of 1,000 to 10,000. So with that, I would say that a real integrated strategic vision from the top of the company that incorporates all these thoughts and moves that down is going to be what companies do to move through the maturity journey for digital transformation and really move digital transformation from isolated initiatives to company-wide transformational exercises for the entire company.
Our goal is, of course, to answer all of your questions. However, due to time restraints, the remaining questions that are in the queue will be answered via email. Please be reminded that tomorrow you will be receiving the audio replay link of today's webinar, as well as the complimentary document with all of our 2017 predictions. Thank you again to Jay Gambiner and all of our analysts on the line for your very insightful presentation today. And thank you to all of you on the line who joined today's webinar. This concludes our session today. Thank you again, and we all hope you have a great day.